Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. You know, there's been a lot of conversations about who's going to win the national championship this year between our experts. The Cover 3 podcast crew kind of in agreement here. They're leaning on Penn State. We've got Tom Fornelli bringing up the LSU representation there. We've got Clemson represented, and of course our BMAC bringing it up there with Alabama. You know, it's interesting that I mentioned Alabama. We've got our running back, Damien Harris, former Alabama running back, joining us now. Damien, you know, we've done a lot of these bracket breakdowns, so we're going to see what your bracket looks like, and we're going to try to get to your national champion. And I believe we're going to take a look at the big picture here. But Damien, before we do that, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on the college football parity right now. What are your initial excitements going into the 25 season?
Well, my excitement is exactly what you just said, Haley, the parity in college football and what the 12-team college football playoff brings. And before we get into this, I want to go ahead and mention to all the people that are out there listening, and this is coming from somebody who actually played, these preseason analysis, who we predict to win the national championship, who we have in this bracket, it really doesn't matter because, Haley, we haven't seen anybody play yet. Everybody's talking about, okay, well, what if Arch Manning is good? What if he's not? Well, guess what? We don't know yet. What's DJ Lagway going to do? What's Garrett Nussmeier going to do? What's Lenore Sellers going to do? We do not know yet. This is what the offseason is all about, getting hype trains rolling, crowning a national champion before the season has even started. So ultimately, what am I excited about? Week 1 starting, football being back, and then seeing which teams who have had the best offseason, who have had the best transfers as far as getting new players, getting new coaches, staffs, whatever the case may be. I'm just looking forward to see it all be played out on the field.
All right, let's get to it. So I mentioned it. Damien's got his bracket that we're going to break down. It'll reveal here in our wall. These are Damien's top 12 teams, so take a nice little look at it. We're going to break them down kind of one by one. Damien, though, my first question, I'm looking here, and I see 4 SEC teams, and of course your Alabama squad gets in there up and above me here. Talk me through the decision for the Crimson Tide to be that final team in the SEC 4.
Well, listen, I know Danny Cannell is somewhere hiding behind the corner listening to this right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, Danny, I am still an SEC homer, where I think the most talented teams in the country are in the SEC. The teams with the toughest schedules happen to be in the SEC. We've heard the playoff committee come out and talk about how there's going to be new metrics for how they're going to evaluate teams. Biggest part of that is going to be strength of schedule. So if you look at SEC teams compared to Big Ten teams, ACC teams, they usually have the tougher schedule. So just off that metric alone, if there's going to be a conference that gets an extra team or 2 teams in, I would have to look to the SEC because, again, they're more than likely going to have strength of schedule advantage if they have wins in the win column over teams in the Big Ten, the Big 12, or the ACC. All
right, so we're looking at Alabama there. They're going to be taking on Notre Dame in that opening round. I want to stay on this side of the bracket, though, with you, Damien, because we see Tulane sneaking in as the 12 seed. The Green Wave representing the group of 5 here. Why the belief in John Sumrall's squad this year?
Well, when you add in quarterback Jake Retzlaff, who, you know, we're seeing what he's dealing with from his transfer from BYU, but this was a quarterback that led BYU to a season of success last year. They had a very successful season. He played very well at times. He's tough as nails. He can run the football. He can throw the football. And he just seemed like a big game type of player. And now he's going to a Tulane program that may not be as big, but he can bring that experience, that playmaking ability that he has to a G5 team. And then let's not mention or forget to mention that Tulane finished the season very strong last year. So again, you add in a good offseason, another year of continuity, and then you add in a power 4 quarterback who played at a high level last year. To me, that's an easy pick for the group of 5 winner.
Unfortunately for your group of 5 winner, they are facing Ohio State. Their dream's not going to last very long. Alabama, though, going to win, beating Notre Dame. I want to go to the other side of this bracket, though, Damien, and take a look at this portion right here. You know my husband, Marcel, is a diehard Arizona State fan. So you know that we will likely be at this game if possible.
Yes, you will.
Taking on Georgia Tech. You're sensing an upset, though, in this one that's going to make me and my household a little upset.
Yeah, I definitely expect an upset. And, you know, let's attack the elephant in the room here, and that's Georgia Tech making the 12-team playoff. What Brent Key has done at Georgia Tech since he got there, since he took over the head coaching job, has been nothing short of sensational. What he did with Haynes King last year, they almost knocked off Georgia. It took 8 overtimes for Kirby Smart to find a way to win. But this Georgia Tech team, I'm telling you, they are coming to take over the ACC this year, and they're going to have a decent enough schedule to where I think if they play at a high level and they win games, then they're going to be tested enough to make it to the 12-team playoff and then beat a very good Arizona State team. Listen, we know Arizona State was already in the college football playoffs last year. We know they're getting Sam Leavitt back. We know what the head coach is doing in terms of turning around the program. But again, I must continue to emphasize the growth that I've seen from Brent Key, the growth that I've seen from the Georgia Tech program, and the growth that I expect to see from Haynes King. I think that gets them not only in the college football playoffs, but I think they get a first-round win over Arizona State as well.
All right, so as we stay on this side of the bracket quickly, you have Georgia Tech upsetting the Sun Devils, so that makes me sad. But we've also got a rematch of a season opener here. Clemson, LSU, we'll come back to that. I do want to come back to this side of the bracket, though, Damien, because now as we take a look at the quarterfinals, we've got Alabama and Texas, an SEC showdown. I want to go there next. What do you think about that matchup?
Ooh, listen, if I don't know how many of the players that were at Alabama in the time when Quinn Ewers walked into Tuscaloosa and handed a smackdown, but if anybody was there and remembers, I know that they are going to have plenty of motivation to knock off the Texas Longhorns. But I'm going to go back to something that I said when we kicked off the segment, Haley. The conversation around Arch Manning has been astronomical. We haven't seen this amount of hype around somebody that's going into their first year as a starter like there has been for Arch Manning. And people always talk about, well, there's so much hype around the name. There's so much expectation. But what if he's not that good? Well, Haley, I'll ask you the inverse of that question. What if he is good? What if he's just as good as advertised? What if, I'll do you one better, Haley. If he is just as good as Quinn Ewers played last year, this is a team that can beat Alabama. With the weapons that they're going to have at the receiver position, with the running back situation that they have, the fact that they're more than likely going to have 3 All-Americans at all 3 levels of their defense, Colin Simmons on the first level, Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker, Michael Taft in the 3rd level. Like, you have got an All-American type talent on all 3 levels of your defense. Well, that shores up communication. That shores up some of the spots where you're lacking. So overall, this is going to be a meeting of 2 of the biggest brands in college football and 2 teams that, quite frankly, haven't really gotten over that hump yet. I'm going to throw Alabama in that conversation because it's been a while since we've seen our Alabama lore. But I think overall, Texas walks away with this win because I am a believer that Arch Manning is going to be good. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as everybody makes him out to be. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid just yet. But you got to think, he's a Manning. He has not only the genetics, he's got the resources. He's got the coaches, the quarterback coaches, the footwork specialists. He's got everybody. I think he'll be just fine. They beat Alabama in the college football playoff.
I can tell that hurt you to say that your Crimson Tide isn't going to move on. So we've got the Texas Longhorns. They stay number 1. They stay unbeaten. They're going to take on the reigning champs in Ohio State. Back to the other side here, Damien. I want to talk to you about Penn State because we know the expectations that come with Penn State here. We've got Clemson penciled into the other side of this matchup here. What excites you about the 2 versus 3 Penn State versus Clemson with all the expectations between those 2?
Well, Haley, what makes this matchup so interesting is you've got James Franklin and the Nittany Lions, and they're a team that they always get it done when it doesn't matter. But once they get to the big moment, they always fall to the circumstances, right? And then, lo and behold, you've got a Georgia Tech team who really isn't even supposed to be there. So is it going to be a continued Cinderella story for Georgia Tech, or is it going to be the same story of despair that we always hear with James Franklin and Penn State? Now, giving a prediction for the game, if this game happens, because again, like I mentioned earlier, we don't know what's going to happen. But if the college football playoff comes down to this, I would anticipate that Penn State would win this game because they're just the better team. They're going to have the better option at quarterback. They're going to have the better running backs. They're going to have the better defense. And outside of head coach, I think they've got better coaches, better coordinators on their staff, i.e. Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator who just came from Ohio State. So with talent alone, talent wins you football games. A man by the name of Bill Belichick used to tell me all the time, players win games, coaches lose them. So this is a game where I think the talent takes over for Penn State. They advance past Georgia Tech, and then they see Clemson in the Final Four.
What do you think about the Clemson matchup, though? So they get through Georgia Tech. Do they beat Clemson, or does the season end there?
See, this game right here, I thought about this for a long time last night. This is the game. It's not going to be the national championship. This is the game where we look at James Franklin and say, this is the same old story. This is the same old song. This is the same old James Franklin, and it's the same old Penn State team that we're used to seeing every single year. Because this is the moment where they are finally going up against a competent opponent. Because let's face it, outside of Ohio State, I'm not even going to count the Oregon game. Penn State does not have a tough schedule. They have one of the more favorable schedules of a team that's going to be ranked in the top 5, top 10. But they face a good Clemson team with a first-round pick at quarterback in Cade Klubnik, with Dabo Swinney, who has the national championship experience, and a Clemson program that's been there before. Well, Clemson do what they normally do. They play big in those games. They get to the playoffs. You know Clemson is going to make some noise. Penn State gets to the playoffs. You know they're just going to get so far, but they're still going to come up short. I think this year is no different. Clemson advances to the national championship.
Tough break there for Penn State, but that means that we get Texas and we get Ohio State. I'm going to move out of the way here. Texas, Clemson in our national championship, because we have Texas beating Ohio State. So there's a whole lot of orange in this natty, Damien. Which orange are we going? Are we going burnt orange? Or are we going Clemson orange?
Well, listen, I think we should protest if we get a Clemson Texas national championship. It just should be called the Orange Bowl. I mean, that just makes the most sense to me. But if I got to look between these two teams, I mean, great quarterback play, great defenses, great coaching, like great at both levels. And that's what you want to see when you look at two national championship teams competing for a championship. Not a team that's really good and a team you don't know if they're going to show up, cough, cough, Penn State. You want to see two battle-tested teams that are going to go head-to-head, that have good talent, that have good coaches. And the winner of this, my prediction, is going to be the Texas Longhorns, because I have the conviction, Haley, that Arch Manning, again, I'm not going to say he's as good as we're advertising him to be, but the good problem that he has is he doesn't have to be. If Texas offensive line keeps him healthy, if he keeps himself protected, which we want to talk about Quinn Ewers last year, the reason why he dealt with so many injuries was because he wasn't as mobile as Arch Manning is. So Arch Manning is going to be able to get himself out of a lot of situations that Quinn Ewers couldn't. He's still going to have a stable of supercars at receivers that are just fast, can get the ball down the field. And again, I mentioned those 3 potential All-Americans on defense. To me, this is Texas's year to lose. I mean, if they don't win it this year, then I don't know if Steve Sarkisian can get it done in Austin. Are
you saying Texas is back? Is that what we are saying here on CBS Sports HQ, Damien?
Well, listen, I'm still tied through and through, so I'm not going to say Texas is back. But I would say if you're watching this and if you like to gamble, then Texas is your safest bet. That's where you put your money. So that's what I'm going to do.
All right, we're staying hook 'em for right now. Damien, looking forward to seeing you a lot more around here at CBS Sports HQ as we get closer to that national championship game. But how about this? Damien returns to our crew on the college football pregame show alongside our Danny Cannell, Bryant McFadden, and Emily Proud holding down the fort. Their first assignment, Alabama visiting Florida State. So we got a former Crimson Tide running back. We've got a former Florida State quarterback on the crew. It all gets started at 9 o'clock Eastern.